everybody. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connerton, and of course, fondling his hand grenade is the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
If I'm fondling my hand grenade, am I necessarily honorable? I mean, fondling seems kind of like inappropriate touching of a hand grenade.
Is that the wrong word? Or is it just...
caressing gently.
Yes, caressing gently your hand grenade.
That's much nicer.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's up? We're supposed to have Gus and John Heichel tonight. I don't know where they are. They've probably been abducted.
By aliens or by pirates?
The NSA.
Oh, the NSA.
Yeah.
Probably.
National Security Administration is probably on their tail, and they probably got them. I don't mean got them like as in like fish, like a fish, but I mean got them as in in possession of them.
Right, right.
Yeah, I didn't want to say really bad things about the NSA.
For all we know, they've been renditioned, and they're in another country now. Yes.
They're renditioned.
Yes, they've been taken away to another country.
That's what
that
means?
Where they can be secretly tortured. Yeah. Extraordinary rendition?
No.
That's when they take you and send you somewhere else.
Well, what's after you do a rendition of something, you're doing a
version of it?
A version of it. So why is...
Yeah, it has this double meaning. Bill Clinton signed that into law, actually, so we have him to thank for that.
Oh.
Secret prisons. So they could be in a secret prison right now.
So Bill Clinton not only defined what is, he also redefined what rendition is?
Well, I don't know if he defined what is. He certainly asked the question. It depends on what your definition of is. Right.
Because I did not have sexual relations with that girl.
Oh, you got to do the finger wag when you say it.
Monica Lewinsky.
You got to make sure your finger's bent if you want to do a good Clinton. Because his finger was, yeah, there you go. You got the Clinton finger.
Yeah, that's pretty good, huh?
There you go. He does that, and he does the thumb point.
Right. So
a lot of politicians do the thumb point.
Yeah, I'm not that good at that.
Yeah.
I probably should work on my pointing of thumbs.
Yes, yes.
Because who's that? I can't see through this blinding light. I don't know if they're blinding or the light's blinding.
I think
it's probably their presence.
Yes, their star power.
Their star power. It's like just like glaring in my eyes.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I shaved this morning.
Ah, that's what it is. Yes.
It does it.
I know you guys.
Yes. Glad you could make it this evening, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you. It's an honor to be here. Oh, that's why they're late. They had to get matching lanyards.
Yes. No, they're not. They're fashionably late.
Fashionably late.
They're fashionably late. Fashionably late. Yes.
Yes, we're fashionable.
Right. I mean, I pay my guests so much too. You would think.
Right, right. Plus, we have that commissary with all that free food.
Right. Yeah. It's at least yes. So anyway, I told you they had free ice cream up at the State House Tuesday. But it wasn't that good. It was like one of those like Kudzy cups.
Oh, those suck.
And I told the lady, I says,
it was Hood.
The real difference between New Hampshire politics and Washington politics, the real difference is in New Hampshire.
The topping. The toppings.
The topping, yeah, but in New Hampshire, in Washington, D.C., the rule of thumb is if you can't take money from somebody and then turn around and vote against them the next day, you don't belong in D.C. That's the rule.
Yeah, who said that?
Tip O'Neill.
Tip O'Neill, yeah.
In New Hampshire, it is if you can't take free food from somebody and turn around and vote for them the same day or the next day, then you don't belong in Concord.
And Gary Hopper said that.
Gary Hopper said that.
Yes.
He said that. He
did.
I live by that.
By that.
I live by that.
As you should.
That's
because I took the money from the pro-casino people because their food was much better than the anti-casino people. But I still voted against the pro-casino people.
But you took their food.
Oh, yeah, it was good.
Do you think about that while you're eating it? Like, does it make it taste even better? Like,
it's like stolen apples.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Not that I've ever done that.
No.
I'm not saying that I ever did.
No.
But if I ever had,
right, it would be like
it would be very similar.
Right. Yes. Yes, it would. So
John, what's happening, brother?
Just hanging out, having a good time, fixing cars, like an hour ago.
You weren't here last week. We were worried about you.
Yeah.
I was in Bermuda.
That's not what Gus said.
I took a cruise.
Gus said you were abducted by the NSA and you were being
renditioned.
Renditioned.
Yes.
That's what I told people.
Yes.
but it really didn't happen.
Cavity searches and
that, but
I don't know why they would do a cavity search. I mean, what's a cavity search? They get like a dentist in there and they take the cavity out and they look inside to see if there's microchips.
Just looking for cavities.
Yeah. So the cavity search is really a dental exam. Want to take that?
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe they're talking about cavities.
I hope so. Maybe it's a dentist.
You having your cavity drilled out, don't you?
Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
This is Steve. Just a quick question for the master mechanic over there.
Yes.
Question for you. What's the average price to fix a flange on your muffler?
Ooh, we actually can't. We're not allowed to discuss prices on MPTS. We can't.
Yeah, I think I did. That was one of the scoldings I've gotten over the years. Was
do we have to U.S. dollars? Can we?
Okay. Well,
no.
Okay, can't discuss prices. But do you fix mufflers at your place?
I fix anything for any car.
John's the best.
I fix anything for any car or truck. Yes.
Okay. Question, real quick for you. How long would it take to fix the flange?
Is the flange missing?
No, it's got a little hole in it. It's just starting a little hole in it.
Well, if it's just the gasket, we could change the gasket. If it's in the pipe behind the flange, we may have to add a new flange. I don't know till I look at it, but the answer is I can fix anything for any car.
Right,
that's a good answer.
Or is it a small part?
If it's just a flange, it shouldn't be too expensive.
Right. Okay, do you have, what's the name of the place that you're at?
It's called Uptown Auto Repair, 578 Mass Road next to Dunkin' Donuts and across from Rite Aid in Penardville.
And they give you a free Constitution.
Yeah, we have
Constitutions. You're giving out free Constitutions there?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And we can talk politics and cars while you're getting your car fixed.
Well, fantastic. Now, are you open on Saturdays?
It depends. 5 days a week is plenty. And Saturday isn't one of them. But by appointment or if I'm not going someplace, I could be open Saturday, sure.
Okay, so you're just basically 5 days, and what are the hours?
8 to 5 on Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, 8 to 12. But I work a lot of Saturdays.
Yeah.
But
yeah, all right. But you're giving out free Constitutions. That sounds great.
This Saturday, I'm going to be on the radio on Grok Talk in Concord at 10:30, so I probably will not be opening this Saturday. And I'll be talking about redress.
Okay, maybe sometime next week or something. You said till 5, so I see if I can scoot over there.
Great.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Well, that's good.
It finally paid off.
Flange question. There you go, right?
John, do you have any kind of a website for your shop or a Facebook page or anything?
I have a Facebook page, Uptown Auto Repair.
You do? Okay,
on
good.
Facebook.
Okay.
Or you can, find me on Facebook or call me or email me at
They have the thing called Yellow Pages nowadays too.
I don't advertise in the phone book. I haven't advertised in 20 years.
Really?
I quit. I don't. Yeah, unless it's free.
Yeah.
I don't use the Yellow Pages or it's word of mouth, and everybody wants their car fixed right. And, and they end up telling all their friends.
It's kind of a recession-proof business, right? I mean, people always need auto repair.
No, they go out of business anytime.
Really?
But I just haven't in 26 years.
Yeah. Oh,
but everybody. But no, garages go out of business in good times or bad. Yeah, it depends on their money management and the quality of their work and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I started in a horrible recession.
Yeah.
In 89, 90, and have gone through a couple of them, and
longevity. That's good.
Yeah, I'm solid as a rock in business. That's for sure.
Yeah. Good.
So, you signed up for Obamacare yet?
I have not.
No.
No. As a matter of fact, I've sponsored a petition of redress to nullify and exempt the state of New Hampshire from the Affordable Care Act.
Well, the citizens of New Hampshire, not from New Hampshire, but the citizens of New Hampshire, right?
The people of New Hampshire.
The people from not being required.
That's right.
Seems more
I have
than
a redress
reasonable.
petition for that, and I've got 100 and...
On the petition for Obamacare, there's roughly
I thought you were going to
80
link
right
that
now.
on Rock, Paper, Hand
I
Grenades.
forgot what I was supposed to link on there.
That's the one. For anybody watching, it's www.nhdredress.info. You can see the 3 petitions that I've sponsored. Part 1, Article 31 of the New Hampshire Constitution guarantees redress for the people. And
we actually were dealing with that in
you can sign the petitions online.
Kathy Souza. We're going to have her on in November, but she's one of the great state reps from Manchester.
Yeah.
is kind of like redress. There's one of her constituents has apartments. He's a head of a LLC, whatever the heck it is.
It's an LLC?
I forget. There's a lot of letters in it. And at any rate, in the court that he represents at LLC, the laws say that somebody can represent themselves commonly, or in other words, basically, if you're a good person of good character, you're allowed to represent yourself. But if you're representing an LLC, you can represent commonly, and he's defined commonly as 3 times a year.
Oh,
Okay.
Dan Itzer was talking about that with me
Right.
sometime. I think you have
represent-
5 or 6 times.
Yeah, it's something like that,
Yeah.
5 or 6, or
Well, it depends on which court, because it's the court he's going to. He hasn't had this problem with any other jurisdiction, because he's trying to save money, not paying for lawyers to talk about real estate law, which he knows enough about to represent himself, because it's a pretty narrow bandwidth.
So this is his business?
It's he's the head of the LLC. It's his business, or he's I don't know if it's
They
like a
want him to
partnership.
get an attorney?
They want to make sure a lawyer gets paid off.
The Supreme Court has repeatedly said over and over and over again that the practice of law is a common law right. Just like roofing, siding, hanging drywall, whatever, it's a common law right.
Yeah.
And that it's accessible to everybody. So the fact that we don't have that, and that we have rules that regulate that, put out by the Bar Association, the Supreme Court, and so on, is ridiculous. I understand there needs to be a lot of professional. There's
There has to be
a lot
professionalism.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Oh, sure.
so much.
Sure.
It is. It's amazing how many statutes there are. Every statute has a different definition for the word person. They've got different definitions for a lot of the different words. It's contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's so much to know.
Yeah.
That having an attorney is certainly not a bad idea.
We have another call. Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Hey, man, it's Ross Terrio.
Russ, how are you?
No, jeez.
Tell Gary Hopper to be quiet.
No,
Just saw
Ross.
you guys talking about that. I filed a bill last year to deal with that. That a landlord could, if representing their LLC, can go in and represent it more than 3 times, but it got killed. The court said it wasn't needed. That it's not a problem, but it died.
where did it die, Ross? I mean, you last year you did the
Last term, not last year.
That's what I mean. Yeah, last term.
last term you did that, and it died, huh?
They said it wasn't needed. The Supreme Court,
Of course.
who said the gentleman came out from the Supreme Court and said, it's not a problem. Don't
Howard
worry about
Zibble?
it. It died.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. I mean, that's unfortunate that that they didn't say it under oath, but they, I'm surprised that they would. No, I'm not surprised.
Well, the former chairman was a former judge.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the problems when you guys are in committee and you have people from the state that come in and testify not under oath. These people know what they're talking about more than anybody. They should be testifying under oath.
Right.
You would eliminate 90% of their testimony, and you get only the real facts that they're willing to put out
Yeah,
there.
but I don't know if you'd want to do that, because then you'd have to, everybody that came up, you'd theoretically have to testify under oath, and
No,
as a legislator,
no, not everybody.
No, people from the state.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I'd agree
If
with
they're
that.
testifying in their personal
As a-
Well,
capacity.
I'm going to hang up now and listen to you at the TV.
Appreciate that, Ross.
Yeah, sure you are.
I'd like to know more about that one because it makes I like it, and I'm surprised something like that wouldn't have passed last time. Ross? Did it fail in the House or the Senate or did
No,
it
I think it...
right in committee?
Well, yeah, I think the committee shot it down, and so then it got probably put on the consent calendar, and I didn't make a big deal out of it.
So that's the Judiciary Committee probably that got that.
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
And who's the gentleman that came out from the Supreme Court? The Howard Zinn? What's his
Zibble.
name?
Howard
Zibble.
Zibble, yeah, I think he's the one who testified against it.
Yeah, he testifies on a lot of things like that. He testified against me nullifying nonviolent felons to be able to get their records to return them to be citizens again
after
the time, rather than have to apply for that, especially if they.
And here's the thing that's frustrating is so I heard from a lot of landlords that said this is a problem. We need this. And then he comes and says, no, the courts let you do what you want. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
Redress right there.
So, I don't think they need to be under oath, but he's just, testifying from the seat of his pants.
Right.
And he's not,
whoa.
actually dealing with the problem and have hard facts, but they don't listen to them.
That's why
I don't actually believe he's dealing with it from the seat of his pants. I think he probably knows the truth, but he's got marching orders.
Oh.
That's why, Ross, what Gus just said was, testimony from people in government officials should present that in writing in an affidavit form under the pain and penalty of perjury, and we would eliminate a lot of the people that know what they're saying and know that they don't need to. They know that they can mislead the committee, and that would either prevent them from misleading or prevent them from testifying in the first place.
Another thing on this is that, this is a redressable issue. This is what we have a legislature for, Article 31. They shall assemble for the redress of public grievances and for making such laws as the public good may require. So here you have these LLC owners should get together and put a petition in and have their state reps sponsor these petitions to be heard before the general court so they can speak their mind.
In a certain sense, that's exactly what happened. They went to Ross or Kathy and says, "I need this fixed."
But it was killed in committee.
It was killed.
So killed in committee.
Right.
The right of the people to redress is not a committee issue. It's not a redress committee. It's not a statutory committee issue. It is a right of the people to redress their legislature and to have it heard in front of their legislature without going to committee and having it killed in committee. And it's
here's the other thing, I guess, a complaint against redress and grievances. I sponsored a petition by Jeff Frost. He had been maliciously prosecuted by the Attorney General at the time, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
The court said that if this was a private person, that you could successfully sue them. But because it's the state of New Hampshire, you can't. So your only option is to go to the legislature.
Correct.
So he did. We filed the petition. The redress and grievances heard it, and they supported him. They said that Mr. Frost should be compensated for his legal bills.
Right.
So that was successful, but he's never been compensated.
Because it was actually not really the correct way, Ross. From what I'm finding in my research, the redress process wasn't to go in front of a committee first. It was to deal with the redress first in the legislature in a committee with the House and the Senate. And if they had questions and they couldn't find out and they needed more answers, they would form a committee with experts on that subject, and they would gather the evidence and they would gather the information and answer the questions and bring it back to the legislature in a future time. It was kind of done backwards with the redress committee. In the reason, because actually what you're describing happened 26 other times as well last year out of 30 or so. There was 30 or 30-something petitions. 26 were found to have the same results as what you're describing, and you're right. Nobody has gotten redress, which is remedy. And the problem is that it was a committee. It was an ad hoc committee. It was a committee that had no authority to do more than just listen to something and come up with a finding, but nobody had to do anything about it. And then from there, you would sponsor legislation, they hope, to prevent it from happening. The problem is when a majority is in the House or in the legislature that doesn't agree with that, or their leadership doesn't, forget it. That's not going to happen. And so really, under the Part 1, Article 31 of the New Hampshire Constitution, redress is a right of the people, and that right is being denied every day. And we need to bring redress back to the legislature and take it out of the statutory committee stuff. When people have been wronged by their government, they need remedy, and the people that have all the authority are the legislature, the representatives, and they are the ones that should hear this and should
when they had redress and they heard petitions, though. Was that back before we actually had a Senate, so you could actually hear?
No, we had a Senate. God, no, we had a Senate since 1784.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
Guys, I'm going to watch you on TV.
I'm thinking.
All right. Thanks, Ross.
Ross, hey, Ross,
bye.
Ross, we'd love to come over and talk to you sometime a lot more about this stuff, if you don't mind. Hopefully, while he's not on. Ross, if you're still on. If Ross is still on, yeah. If you're still on, Ross, I would love to with Gus, and we'd love to come over and discuss this.
Because at one point we didn't even
issue.
have a Senate. Before, obviously,
before 1784, there was no Senate. There was the executive committee, there was executive council, and the House.
Petitions went to the governor and the executive council,
Right.
and then they were passed on to the general. Well, it wasn't the general court then. Back then, it was just the House of Representatives.
And the Senate was formed in 1784 under the new contract of the new Constitution.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering how.
And redress has been going on. I mean, there was redress long after into the 1800s. There was redress.
Well, on this website, on this Facebook page today, I posted a couple of clips that were scanned out of the 1895 and I think 1903 House journals, Senate journals.
Yep.
So showing that there were. I mean, there's one of them. 4 petitions in a row were in the journal. One of them was regarding civil rights. Another one had to do with somebody wanted to get money for hunting woodchucks. I don't understand that one at all. But they would be, if you're going to hear a petition about woodchucks, you should be hearing petitions about Obamacare.
Yeah, that the woodchuck actually makes sense because I know that, for instance, there was a bounty on porcupines.
Okay, well, this was a bounty on woodchucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a woodchuck will, if a farmer has a field, woodchucks create holes and their cows and stuff break legs in them and stuff. Is from what I understand. I don't know.
What was the
Makes
porcupine
sense.
thing for? Were
Porcupine.
there too many of them, or?
There was so many porcupines that were just devastating the trees.
Oh, no kidding.
That's why we actually have fisher cats.
Oh,
Fisher
okay.
cats are not native to New Hampshire, but they imported them to try to control. They're one of the few animals that can actually overcome the spiny altercation with a porcupine.
I'll be damned. That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Oh, interesting, yeah, Gary.
Yeah, we all think it's interesting.
That's once in a row.
That's incredible.
Yeah. But anyway,
It's amazing what you learn.
That's Gary.
thanks, John.
Going back to redress, if
Yes.
I may. I was on the phone with Marie Miller, who was a petitioner in 2011. Her petition was founded. It was a very clear-cut case where the redress committee agreed that the bank was foreclosing on her without the proper paperwork, that the court had not. One judge said that they had to bring the proper paperwork in, and then he was taken off the case at some point, and the next judge came in and said, no, we don't need any proof, let them foreclose. So she called me today to ask me to talk to John about the guy who bought the house, her house, for $12,500, and I think she's in Dover, she's on the
Somebody
coast.
bought the house for $12,500.
The bank sold it to this guy, $12,500.
And they sold.
Wow.
She's been in that house for 40 years.
The bank had a hearing on January 17th of this year to discuss the ongoing issue with the mortgage and the foreclosure, but they sold the house on January 5th.
Wow.
They sold the house before the hearing. And nothing happened to the bank.
Of course
not. So she was, here she is. She's got a finding from the redress committee stating that they did not pay attention to the statutes and they violated the statutes. Yet she's calling me today to let me know that they just put 2 dumpsters at the house and that the owner of the house won't let her go in and get her stuff. So she's losing all her stuff. They're going to throw it all in a dumpster. And I don't know what to do to help her out.
Incredible.
I mean, if the redress committee can't help her out, what's John going to do?
And this woman's in her 70s. I mean, she's an elderly.
She's
woman.
from Germany. I mean, she went through. She saw her family go through the same thing in Germany.
I filed a petition of redress to repeal Common Core for the state of New Hampshire, for instance. I'm filing.
Oh, wait! Before you go too far on that, Common Core. We started covering that earlier this year, right?
Yeah.
With Anne Marie Banfeld.
Yes. Yep.
And from Cornerstone Policy Research, and
Yeah.
it just so you know, it was because of her work and other people's work that Manchester just decided not to go along with Common Core.
Right.
That's the first step.
That's a huge
Right.
step.
That's a huge step, and it's hugely important, but keep in mind that the
Department of Education.
Department of Education and the Obama administration, it's not going to go unnoticed, and they're going to start putting the screws to them.
Well, they're going to call it something else.
Or call it something else.
They're going to sneak it in the back door.
yeah.
They're going to call it.
So congratulations to the people of Manchester for doing that.
Great job, Manchester.
Great job.
Yeah,
Awesome
great
job.
And having the standards, they're going to set up another type of standard. They're not
yes.
going to leave a void. They're going to actually decide what they want for standards.
Great job.
Yes, that's what they
Yeah.
But I'm just saying this
That was
not,
the school board under the chairmanship of Mayor Gatsis. Right?
It was Gatsis. It was the school board.
Great job. I mean, kudos. They did what the people wanted them to do, and it's about time government responds to the people.
Right, exactly. And the
Like we're doing in Goffstown, for instance.
the union rep, we had him on a show. Dick, Dick. His last name is Dick.
Wow.
Jeez, I forgot. Really nice
Yeah,
guy.
me too.
Anyway, he's all all on board with it too. It wasn't like a. I don't think it was actually very partisan at all.
It's easy to be on board once the wave is going that way, and you can't.
Well, no,
fight
I know,
it.
but I mean,
You know, where were they when?
I know, but a lot of times my Republican
fight
friends will
started.
say the unions are all in favor of this. Really, union wasn't really that much in favor of this.
Mhm.
So
when did they change their mind?
Ben Dick?
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
really.
Oh, they weren't in favor of the Common Core.
No, he was totally okay with not doing Common Core. So he's the I think he's the head of the teachers union in Manchester. I'm not positive. Huh? That is true. And so Ben, we have voices in my head are very loud.
Wow.
They're
Yeah.
very loud, Gary.
Yes.
Wow.
The voice actually comes out his ears.
Yeah.
That's
Wow,
how loud it
that
is. That's
is-
why we
it
can
is,
all hear.
yeah.
Yeah.
He should be in the circus. You could.
A lot of people have said that
You
to
could
me
have
for
a
other
sideshow,
reasons.
Gary.
I'm called that
Right.
often.
The man that talks out of both ears.
You can
Yes.
talk to 4 or 5 people at the same time.
It's better than where most politicians
Right.
talk out of.
Right.
know, right?
There you go. Well, if you can work that in too, then you've got all kinds of verbiage going on.
Yes.
Right. Different conversations at the same time, too.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
but then I'd have to
With different ethnic values,
Sure.
Different
Things-
languages.
Ooh. The possibilities.
different moral values.
The possibilities are endless.
Anyway,
I know it's a lot.
it is.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
Ladies and gentlemen, come
More
see.
options. More
Gary
options in a Chinese restaurant.
But anyway, so I just wanted to, once you went into Common Core, I wanted to make sure I got that off.
Okay,
Oh, wait,
so I
wait,
filed
wait,
a redress petition to stop Common Core in New Hampshire. So we're going to hit them high, we're going to hit them low. We're going to use the Constitution, we're going to use statute.
Okay.
I'm going to file a petition of redress to stop Obamacare, Affordable Care Act in New Hampshire.
I know you're filing.
Nullify it and stop it from
But nobody knows about the petitions process.
So go to the redress. Go to nhredress.info. You can read the petitions. You can sign it online. I mean, foreclosures. We should have redress petitions on
should.
foreclosures.
Oh,
we should
absolutely.
stop this. What's going on to all these people losing these homes?
Absolutely.
All right, now, well, I'm going to do devil's advocate because
Please.
Of course, it's easier that way. It's easier to find. It's
easier taking it from you, Gary.
It's easier. It's always easy playing devil. I hear that all the time. So let me play devil's advocate. No, let's play angel's advocate and give me a solution.
Ooh,
Wow.
that's hard hitting.
Wow.
that was brutal.
And I say that to you as a brother.
As a brother,
As an honorable brother.
an honorable,
To another
an
honorable.
honorable brother.
Well, that's nice. That sugarcoats it, right?
Right?
Doesn't hurt so bad.
I don't want them to shoot me at target practice.
Right. Yeah.
That's not my fault. My eyes aren't very good.
That's
I didn't
right.
know.
That was Dick Cheney's excuse.
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. We'll go hunting. And so,
Sorry.
how would you, like currently, foreclosures and things like that? For instance, my mother's house is being foreclosed on.
Right.
There's nothing wrong about it. I mean, she had a reverse mortgage, and the bank is foreclosing on it. I think they should have foreclosed on it a long time ago because I've been kind of keeping an eye on the place because it's next door. And currently, theoretically, the courts are supposed to be handling that.
Well, we're a non-judicial state.
Okay, so
It's a non-judicial foreclosure.
Okay,
It's in the
so
agreement.
really? So this doesn't go through the court system at all?
Only if she objects.
Only if she objects.
Okay, so theoretically, if somebody objects to the foreclosure, it's supposed to go through the judicial process.
Something.
How many? My devil's advocate position is: how would you filter out? Because right now, with the population we have, I could see that redress petitions would be in the thousands.
Bring them on. We'd love it.
Why? I mean, because remember now, if there was thousands of redress petitions.
No, thousands of petitioners. We only need one petition.
Right, okay. Well,
Thousands
I know, but
of- thousands
not
of-
thousand. No, I'm talking about thousands of petitions. People who feel, quote unquote, that they're being wronged.
But the petitions
Because
are.
if you take a look at every divorce, there is one of the people involved, if not both.
We're talking about systemic problems in the government. If the government
Good. Okay.
has a systemic issue that
right
needs
now
to be
we've narrowed
resolved,
down to
that's
systemic.
redress.
Who decides they're systemic?
Well, for instance, the courts are supposed to follow certain RSAs that are very specific about foreclosure.
Right, but I'm saying, how do we filter this down so we're dealing with like the redress petitions that I'm aware of are profoundly legitimate. I mean, I've heard. I was on the committee before it was a committee,
Okay.
and I heard them and I understood them, and it was like, wow, I can't believe our government is doing this to our people. So I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the remedy when you can't believe that our government's doing this to the people? And
Exactly.
And not hearing their
But
petitions.
how do you get from A to B without being just absolutely flooded with petitions?
Well, I don't think I wouldn't mind being flooded with petitions. I'd love to flood the Speaker's office and the clerk's and the House Clerk's
What's
office.
wrong
No, I'm not
being
talking about.
flooded.
I'm not
What's
talking
wrong
about.
with-
I don't care about the speaker.
What's
What I
wrong with
care
flooding
about
it with petitions?
because these petitions are typically it's almost like a full court hearing because
Well,
you're before the entire general court, and if there's thousands of them and they're hours and hours apiece,
Too much for the system to handle. in the
Yes.
I
process.
don't think the system could tolerate it because you've got. I mean, we deal with 1,000 bills every year, and it takes up so much time.
Redress petitions are meant to address problems where the public, okay, the public grievances.
Yes.
So the public is being damaged by the laws of the state. So, you know,
By the laws or the decisions also.
well, the decisions are based on the laws.
Not necessarily. That's the problem.
Well, they're supposed to be, because
Yes.
you know, Article 38 says very specifically that the people have the right to require of their lawgivers and magistrates an exact and constant adherence to the fundamental principles of the Constitution. So, if in the formation and execution of the laws necessary for the good administration of government.
Right.
So, if the people have a right to demand that and expect it, then when a judge finds something contrary to the fundamental principles of the Constitution, which is what the RSAs are supposed to be based on in the first place,
Yeah.
then you have a systemic problem. People are being damaged, therefore you have redress, so they should not be passing any more laws until they fix the ones that they already screwed up.
All right.
That's it. And if we could get redress, we could, you know, and you know, we say this, I think we say it almost every week, and I'll just say it again, and I think Gus has already said it, under 31, the legislature shall assemble for the redress of public grievance.
I know.
Right?
I'm just.
Not for all the other 1,000 or 2,000 bills that are presented in front of the legislature to do all the other things that we do statutorily.
Yeah.
You know, I was told by one of the lawyers in Office of Legislative Services when I was sponsoring a bill last session, he said, look, we're trying to get away from this. We're trying to get away from the common law. We're trying to get away from the Constitution. See those books there? Those are statutes. That's what we want to, that's how we want our laws and our government to work by. So the whole thing is he's saying we don't want to have anything to do with the Constitution. And I bet a bill to repeal the Constitution would be highly unsuccessful. but it might get people to
wake up.
Yeah.
Right? We're gonna get rid of your Constitution.
No, because
unless you steal statutes and contracts.
You go to
no. The thing is, you don't maybe don't understand. I'm not making myself clear. Is that I absolutely agree with you. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I just, in a pragmatic sense of the word, I don't understand exactly how you do it.
Off.
Right. Well, we thought we were like adversaries here.
Yeah, but for instance, in Judiciary Committee, we've been working for I don't know how long on this early offer bill. Early offer bill.
Yes.
You'll work forever on it. How's that?
Yeah,
it's not over. It won't be over till.
But fundamentally, the
2000.
lobbyists in Concord are so successful. Are so profoundly successful at defending the hospitals that it has gotten to the point that if you go to the doctor and they do something that screws you up, you can't work for 6 months,
Right.
and it's only about a $30,000 court settlement. There's not a lawyer in New Hampshire that's probably going to take that.
Of course not. And you just said what the problem is. The problem is that the legislature listens to the lobbyists, and they don't have to listen to the people.
Correct.
And that's what redress is supposed
Exactly.
to be.
We have
Redress fixes that.
we have so profoundly complicated the system.
Redress puts lobbyists out of business.
Oh, absolutely. Because you can. It doesn't matter how much you lobby and lobby and lobby to get a law passed. Once it's passed, all it takes is one petitioner to go in and say, that's no good, that's damaging people, and I'm here on behalf of the rest of the people in New Hampshire to let you know that's no good, and this is why it's no good. And if they've got a constitutional basis for it, it should be heard.
And who's the lobbyist? Some of the
filtering.
biggest. Some of the biggest.
Law firms.
Some of the biggest law firms in the state.
Yeah.
Some of the most powerful.
Oh yeah, they're the
Law
ones.
firms in
They're
the
the ones who help get people elected and
help don't get people elected.
help don't get people people not elected.
Right. So it's the people. I mean,
People elected.
Get
I don't
people.
like people.
Right. Diselected.
Can they do
like
cavity searches?
I bet they do.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, they probably do.
Yes.
Diselected is when you spell elected backwards.
It is. Yeah. Is elected spelled backwards the same?
No,
No. Okay. Just checking.
but Bob is.
I didn't know we were going to talk about Bob again tonight.
I know. I didn't want to bring up Bob.
Yeah.
It's John's fault.
So anyway, so you if you had it your way, how would this work? Just practically, how would it go? It would the address would have to have so many signatures, not necessarily. Would it go to the speaker's office? The speaker office would hold a.
No, they
would hold a redress
hearing
session. It's like it would be a regular session of the general court, but it'd have to have the Senate too, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you look at the Senate Journal or the House journals,
it was a joint.
yeah, what
about the executive council?
It's mostly you see it mostly in the Senate journals because the Senate met in convention with the House. So in the Senate Journal, it'll say the Senate, at 1:30 on January 29th, they came back together and met the House in convention for the purpose of hearing petitions. And they heard the petitions of John Eastman, Frank Burbank, and they list all the different people.
How much time?
How much time what?
When they heard the petition, was it just they heard the petition and then they set up a separate committee to actually investigate
from the
and then come
journals.
back?
Depends if they understood it.
Yeah.
If it was an easy remedy or if it was more complicated and they needed more time and they needed more questions answered, then they would form a committee. If they didn't
a man
have
walks
any
in.
questions, they'd remedy it right there. It's an obvious.
Yeah, you'll see on the back of the petitions where on the face this is the petition. You flip it over on the back and you'll see where the House Speaker signed off and the Senate President signed off, and they issue an order. So and so has leave to bring his bill to the Treasurer.
Right. Okay.
For remedy, for compensation or whatever they were looking for. If it was cash, things where there was petitions to put a bridge in over a particular part of the river. So a couple of towns got together and wanted this. So I'm sure that went to committee. There was an ad hoc committee formed to study that particular petition, and then they came back with a recommendation. So it depended on the petition.
Okay.
Redress is the most important because you have two types of petitions. You have people who want something, like a bridge, and why not, or the woodchucks and the porcupines, bounties.
Or having the soldiers paid after coming back from battle.
Yeah, there was women who put in for compensation for support because their husband died in the war. So there's all sorts of things, but you have petitions for people who want things, and then you have remonstrance for people who've been damaged.
Okay.
And so those are the two types of petitions found in Article 32. Article 31 says you have to get together to listen to those.
And then you go back to 10, which I quote that one often also, when redresses are not being heard, and it's pretty clear, Part 1, Article 10 of the New Hampshire Constitution, whenever the ends of government are perverted and the public liberty manifestly endangered, and all other means of redress are ineffectual, the people may and of right ought to reform the old or establish a new government. I didn't say it. It's right here, New Hampshire Constitution, 1784. They take these are old words. Some people say this is old, that's old words, that's old stuff. Well, so is the Ten Commandments. But we believe that we follow those too.
Yeah, we break those at our own peril.
Matter of fact, these constitutions were written by
federal
thoughts of the Ten Commandments.
How federally because the federal government says you have a right to redress of your government also.
They say you have a right to petition.
Right. So how did that take its form on the federal level?
Well, they say you have a right to petition, and they claim that we don't have to hear them. It's an assumption that we're going to hear them.
Yeah.
Of course.
You have a right to petition.
Why would you have the right to petition and not be heard?
Right.
Right.
But it's not spelled out. New Hampshire is the only state that has. I've looked at these petitions and these redress provisions, petition provisions in other state constitutions. I've looked at least a dozen of them, and they all say what Article 32 says, that the people have a right to peaceably assemble and to instruct their government. Through the petitions process. New Hampshire is the only one that says you shall assemble for the redress of public grievances.
Right.
We're the only ones. It's on our shoulders to reestablish this.
And it seems like what's been going on for a long time is the legislative process, the legislature in local governments and state governments have been circumvented by these powerful groups that try to influence or that have an agenda, and they go around, and when we go to these meetings we sign our name we vote on things and we do things like that, but it just validates the plan that they've already had. And a lot of the times the things that are coming down to us now seem to be with no legislative oversight, and they just seem to appear. They get voted on, and things happen.
Granite State Future and things like that.
We actually had a meeting on that.
Huge one
yesterday.
Right, exactly.
Yesterday morning, and that's what the Granite State Futures is an agreement with the federal government. Mm-hmm. It's run by the federal government for all intents and purposes, because when a town signs on it, they're restricted. I know that it's saying something, but I can't see what it is. What's that say?
It's just a logo. Rock, paper,
we have
hands.
We have a logo?
It looks like
I didn't know we had a logo.
We do have a logo.
We got a couple
Holy
of them going.
crap! Wow.
Yeah.
Now we got to get
I
T-shirts.
like that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd look great on the back of a T-shirt.
It would.
Yeah.
Rock, paper, hand grenades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it would.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uptown Auto right below that.
So,
Sponsored by Uptown Auto.
Yeah.
and it could happen, Gary.
It could happen.
It could happen. Yes.
But I get it. I get it. I just.
It's tough to grasp because we've spent.
Well, no, it's not just that.
Our entire life not ever thinking about it, and not ever saying redress is never a word in anybody's vocabulary.
Yeah.
Of, by, and for the people means the people need to be heard whenever they speak, not only when they vote.
Right.
You want to know the power of the legislature? I was told by some. It was shocking yesterday.
Right there.
No, great. You want to?
No, go ahead.
I mean, what is the legislature, right? Well, Part 2 of the New Hampshire Constitution, Article 4, the power of the general court to establish courts. Talk about courts and what Ross might have been talking about and redress and where all this plays into it. General court, except as otherwise provided by Article 72A of Part 2, which talks about the Supreme Court, shall forever have full power and authority to erect and constitute judicatories and courts of record and other courts to be holden in the name of the state for the hearing, trying, and determining all manner of crimes, offenses, pleas, processes, plaints, actions, causes, matters, things whatsoever arising or happening within the state, or between or concerning persons inhabiting or residing or brought within the state, whether the same be criminal or civil, or whether the crimes be capital or not capital, and whether the said pleas be real, personal, or mixed, and for the awarding and issuing execution thereon, to which courts and judicatories are hereby given and granted full power and authority from time to time to administer oaths or affirmations for the better discovery of truth in any matter of controversy or depending before them.
For the better discovery.
For the better discovery. I mean, this, the legislature granted their authority, has been granted full authority to create all of these courts by the people. And they created the courts. They created the judiciary. They created the executive. They created the government by the authority of the people. The people spoke and said, we're going to create the legislature first. So if the legislature created all of these other things, the legislature can take that away. The legislature can that was one of the contentions when it came to Claremont, for instance, because they read it as the Supreme Court. Because if you go to 72A in Part 2, talks about 72A, judicial power of the state shall be vested in the Supreme Court, a trial court of general jurisdiction known as a superior court, and such lower courts as the legislature may establish under Article 4th of Part 2, November 6, 1966. So, 1784, the legislature created all this stuff, and it lasted a long time, and then 1966, it was amended to say judiciary power.
Yeah, they fell into the separate but equal kind of mentality.
Yep, and that's where they believed that they had the power to fix the education funding issue that we all know is Claremont decision.
After they gutted Article 6.
After they gutted
in 1968.
And then they gutted Article 6 in 1968. Right.
Yeah. Article 6 in 1968 said that the towns had the right to set up their own schools, churches, whatever, school districts. Doris Hohensee was talking with us.
Was that amended to do that?
It was no, it was not. That was the original language of the 1784 Constitution, all the way up until 1968.
What happened in '68?
They gutted about 75% of that Article 6, and Doris Hohensee did a whole thing on it. She did an awesome job describing that. How they worked so hard to get rid of that language.
They removed towns from it. They removed...
I know, but I get that. So they gutted it, but by what authority is that now the Constitution? In other words, if somebody reprints that Constitution and puts in whatever they want, that doesn't make it legal.
No. This was an amendment.
This was in
1968 to remove.
So it was amended.
It was amended in '68.
Okay. So in other words, it was
removed obsolete sectarian references.
Right. Yeah, but it was amended. So in other words, the people of New Hampshire voted to amend it to remove those.
No, people voted to. The Secretary of State printed up a pamphlet explaining what was going to happen, removing sectarian language. But along with that language went the rights of the people to create their own school districts. There was over 2,500 school districts in New Hampshire in 1850.
Right. Now, saying that, Gary, when that got gutted, those words that were taken out of the original, out of the Constitution before 1968, right now there's no reference to education in the New Hampshire Constitution. I mean, the only part is in Article 6 of Part 1, Article 6, where it talks about electing their own teachers. Therefore, the several parishes, bodies, corporate, or religious societies shall at all times have the right of electing their own teachers and the contracting with them for their support and maintenance of both. So, and no person shall ever be compelled to pay towards the support of the schools of any sect or denomination.
I had forgotten about that. What John just said is very important. Article 6 used to say that the legislature had the authority, the delegated authority, to create schools. And if you look at the old language and you look at what's missing, the legislature, through this amendment, removed from themselves the authority to have anything to do with schools.
Right. They removed the authority to have anything to do with schools. And we're trying to find out, because, you know, that was a constitutional amendment. And you know that how that happens. That goes through the House.
Yep, it goes to the people as a referendum
well, it
on
gets
the
voted
ballot.
It's not a fifth. It's not a majority vote in the House either.
No, it has
it's
to be
a 2/3 majority in the House.
Right.
Or 3/5. 2/3.
Something like that. I forget. I always
It's
2/3 in the U.S.
I know, but I think it's weird.
3/4 in the U.S.
Is it 3/4? Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Not 50. Not 51%.
no,
Right.
it is
more
not.
than 50%.
No,
2/3 majority, I believe, in the House.
266 is the number I remember.
Six-
But
Something like that.
yeah,
And so, yeah, that's a third, right? So that's, it's 2/3, right? So 2/3 majority have to agree to move that to the ballot so the people can vote.
and they have to
and
get
the people have to vote.
2/3 too. It's not a simple majority.
I think it's 3/5.
So it goes to referendum?
I think it's.
Yes.
I think
Oh,
it's.
okay.
I think. Geez, you know, this is
Well, that's
terrible. I don't know
interesting.
that. But anyway, it's more than 50%. It's not a.
Yeah,
it's not a democrat process.
So it's not
that
an
we-
easy thing.
It's not an easy thing
not
to
supposed
change
to.
the Constitution.
Yeah.
But somehow that Constitution got changed like bam.
Yeah.
And I can't find any evidence to say where it happened. Because I
Really?
can't find that legislation that would have been sponsored to change this.
Okay.
And I also can't find so you know, and did it happen?
Did you ask Bill Gardner?
That's who you have to check.
I wasn't able to get that answer. So, you know, I mean, the answer that I got was, well, I think it might have been a constitutional convention. So it might have been, but I
Yeah.
can't find the evidence.
Yeah, but even if it's a constitutional convention, my understanding is
And the people are
there's
not-
still. Yeah,
No, that's not. The people, no, the people are appointed to that, or the people are appointed to that constitutional convention, and they vote, so who would be the ones that would show up
yeah, but I thought
to that convention to gut the Constitution?
I don't think so. I think you get voted. You get appointed to the Constitutional Convention. You vote on stuff, and it goes back to the people to ratify it. It doesn't. It's not like this small
Well,
group.
this was
I
a
can't find any evidence
constitutional
to any of
amendment.
this.
Then that doesn't make sense.
This was a constitutional
This was a
amendment.
CACR. If you read what Doris wrote, and because until I read what she wrote, I had no idea how for 150 years they were trying to remove that language. There was bills over and over and over trying to remove the word town from Article 6 so that the towns would lose their authority to do their own thing with schools, and other language to be removed. And then in 1968, you know,
a miracle happened.
the free love and all that stuff was going on, and
A miracle,
It's a
yeah.
miracle.
Yeah. Well, you can
It's a
explain a lot with
and
that.
so the
Hey.
focus was not on the moralities, which is what Article 6 was all
So
about.
how do we solve that? You know, if there's anybody out there, I'd love to know. If you are an expert, if you have any information as to how that maybe there's some senior legislators that are no longer in the office, but maybe they were around in 1966. If you have an answer to how that
How
that
you
got
realize
changed.
How old you would have to be?
You have to be at least 70 years old.
I mean, the average. I don't know what it was back then, but the average age of the New Hampshire legislature now is probably 55 or 60.
Yeah, so there's somebody out there. Maybe the guy's 80, 90 years old, but he might know.
no, 60,
70.
John.
You'd be
60.
at least 70.
So the average age is 60.
Right. So we're
Right.
talking. Right. So we're talking. What 45 years ago.
So
So,
there's like 100.
No.
if
come
he's
on,
100,
look
if he's 105.
A lot of math this week.
Look at
We're out of
Representative.
time.
Hey, quick, Mike.
But if you know and you're out there
Hey.
and you know how to, if you can help me answer that question, I'd love to
And the
know.
original language
How
to
the
Article
Constitution
6
get
is at
next
nhredress.info.
week we got Phil Griazzo coming on.
Excellent.
If one of you guys want to show up and ask him about redress of grievances, but it's actually a city election,
Is
so
that an
I'm sure
invitation?
he'll have something
you
to
can
say.
if you want.
Thank you.
Anyway, today I have been searching high and low for a, gosh, I just forgot.
Porcupine?
No.
Where's that?
Cannoli.
Groundhog?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Cannoli.
Yes.
Cannoli.
In Manchester. I love cannolis, okay? But most places, they take the cannoli, which is supposed to be like a crisp crust that you fill with, I don't know, it's like a sweet cream cheese or whatever it is.
It's regatta. It's the regatta cheese.
Okay, whatever. I didn't know you were allowed to cuss
speak
on TV,
Italian.
but whatever.
I speak
Anyway,
a
so
little
it's filled with like this sweet regatta cheese,
Yeah.
and it has to be done when you buy it. Most places, they take that nice crisp cannoli shell, they fill it with the cheese, and then let it sit there for 6 or 8 hours. So by the time you get it, you get this like soggy, messy thing that...
So who's got some good ones?
I went to Tano's over on Kelly Street.
Tano's.
Tano's
yeah.
Pizzeria.
Cool.
On
They
the right?
actually had good cannolis. So I
Across from
told
the
them
fire
I was going to...
department.
Huh?
Oh, where on Kelly Street?
Kelly.
Kelly Street.
On Kelly Street.
Yeah. I went there today with my grandkids, my grandson and my granddaughter, looking for something to eat, and I saw cannolis, and I saw just a shell. I says, "Oh,
Wow.
ding, 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 ding."
North End kind of quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
That was awesome.
North
it was
End,
awesome.
Boston.
Right,
Right,
right.
not North
Well,
End,
they say they
Not
claim
North
they
End,
got their
Dutchtown, or-
they're like
Yeah,
New
yeah.
York or something,
or
but whatever.
Yes.
But anyway, it was a really good cannoli. Most places don't do it that way. And hey, we're out of time.
We're out of time.
Matt, I love you.
You
I don't
too.
care what they say.
Well, thank you. I don't even know who they are.
Gus,
so-
John, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Gary. Anytime.
guys.
NHredress.info.
All right.
Uptown Auto. See you later,
Uptown
guys.
Auto.
Everybody.